Well, welcome back to the In Good Company podcast, where we believe that the best parts in business happen in good company. I'm your host, Mike, and I am joined by great company today, a longtime friend who I've looked up to for years, both like physically looked up to because he works on chimneys, but also looked up to in the way that he runs his business, the way that he leads his family. Could not be more excited to welcome Anthony Valerio to the podcast today.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you. For those that maybe don't know your story, maybe they've seen your brand in business, but maybe didn't know that it was you kind of behind it.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about your story. Where'd you grow up? What do you do for work? All that kind of fun stuff.
Yep. So I live here in Rochester with my wife, Laura, and I have two kids, Evelyn and Michael. Evie is about to be 6, and then my son Michael is 3, about to be 4, like within days away from that happening. So I'm from Geneva initially. I moved up here probably about a dozen years ago. Grew up in a masonry family, so that's so what I do for work, of course, is I own Four Winds Chimney. Also co-own a company called Storm Basement Waterproofing. So my background in that is my family, I'm a 4th generation Mason, always focused on chimneys and fireplaces, but general masonry as well. And so that's what I grew up doing. Had some different jobs on and off over the years, but landed right here. So
yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yep.
And one of the things that's been really unique from the outside looking in is you haven't really hoarded or kept information from other aspiring companies, but you continue to be a guy that's almost like a lighthouse when the boats are rocky type of guy. I think when we first met and interacted, we were coming and doing some photos of a event where you had 30 other companies from all over the country that were just coming to learn from you guys at Four Winds. Why is it so important to you, and why is that such a value in you to really give back to these other guys that could be deemed as competition?
100%. Yeah, I mean, we've done it locally too. I mean, there was local people at that one as well.
Yep.
So I don't know. I've just always looked at it like there's been so much information and lessons that I've been like given throughout life, freely given throughout life. You know, my Uncle Mike was who you met at the event. So the backstory on that is Mike and his company came to an event that we held and called it World of Chimneys, and that's what he's referencing, where we had 30-something companies. And my Uncle Mike was one of my biggest mentors ever. Grew up working, learning from him, very much like a father to me. So Mike captured this this video of him like asking what my Uncle Mike thought of me and Four Winds, and my Uncle Mike has since passed, but that clip that you captured, man, is like, I mean, I play that every week, like, so really just really awesome. So not to go too far down there, but of course a heartfelt thank you for capturing that moment of time. Like, to be able to hear his voice and see his face is just awesome for me.
100%. The grand irony of that was, I almost want to say he was like going to his car to like leave or to do something else, and we were done shooting for the day.
Yep.
And I just and again, looking at everything kind of backwards, it's like it all makes sense as to why we caught him. But it was like, as we're leaving, he's leaving. Yep. And I go, because I think you had mentioned him in something earlier, and I'm like, wait, you're the famous
Uncle Mike.
You know, we gotta let me just mic you up real quick. And yeah, it's always I appreciate you sharing that. And again, it's a true honor for us to just be a part of that storytelling dynamic. You know,
that was huge. But yeah, so bunch of information and lessons that I have just been freely given along the way, and I have learned that I really enjoy providing like opportunity and space for people to like to take advantage of something, to become something. And of course I've paid for like business consultants too, but I've just learned that like that's doesn't bring me joy, that side of it. Like I like being able to share what we've learned, and I like firmly believe that rising tides raise all ships. Like, it's very easy for me.
Yeah. Yeah, you can tell from the moment you get there. It's like you're not asking someone to do something that you yourself have not been willing to do.
Ever.
Like just integrity 101. Yeah. And you can tell from the moment that you engage with you. And I think that's the real differentiator. And I think it's why maybe you're getting some of these other opportunities in speaking and some of the networking stuff that you've had.
Yeah.
maybe talk about that. Like, you are a relatively soft-spoken guy that is, you're very meek, humble. Like, I think the way that you present yourself is not this loud, boisterous, extroverted cat. Maybe you get a couple drinks in you, maybe you turn into that, but in kind of a normal experience.
Yeah.
And so it feels like, it's easy for an extrovert to become a speaker, to become this guy, but talk about the emergence of this kind of chapter of your life that's kind of starting to open up a little bit.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's and I'm definitely like a introvert by nature, and and like you said, soft-spoken. So when people hear that I'm like starting to like speak at different places, they're like, well, make sure you speak up though, so people hear you. And
you're like, it turns out they provide you microphones, so that's totally fine.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been cool. It's weird. It's like, it's such a huge honor, right? And it's like, there's been so many people that I have looked up to in my industry, outside my industry, that I've been like going to conferences to watch them year after year after year. And so to now like have that kind of come full circle and now become a figure like they are is such a huge honor. And it's weird to me because it's also like it's humbling too, but I'm like, man, what do I have to share? Like that is always kind of going through my head. And what I've learned is like I don't need to pretend like I know it all. Like I just don't. I don't need to come across like some expert in business or with people. The only thing I have to stick to is like what I've done for me, what I know works for Four Winds, what I know works for me to be a good leader to my people. That's all I have to share upon. And it's made it very easy for me and to be able to open up in that space and provide that for people.
Yeah. For someone listening that is an introvert, or they're a little quieter, and maybe they feel like they'll always have to kind of be the number two, or they'll always have to kind of work for somebody else, but maybe they have this dream, maybe they have this entrepreneurial pursuit that's in them. What advice might you have for someone that's a little bit more soft-spoken, a little bit more kind of behind the scenes, but they've got this dream or they got this idea that they really feel like they want to pursue?
Yeah. I think that's it. I think when you compare yourself to like other people who might be extrovert and you see them in the leadership space, it's very easy to be like, I need to be like that person to be able to take on this opportunity. And what I've learned is that's just not the case. Like, you just need to like treat people right. You need to find the number ones, right? Like, I feel like one big thing that I've done is like tried to work myself out of a job. And so I have found like the right people to put in those spots. And, and so it all doesn't have to fall on you. It's really like, it's the leadership team that you develop around you that makes the biggest difference. And I'd say to not compare yourself to what you see with other people. Like, that does nobody any good.
Yeah.
Once I recognize that I have like a talent and a skill set, where my heart is, like, that's all I need to guide this ship is like good heart, want to see people succeed. Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes that we talked about this before we started recording. Like, you work with your sisters, you work with your family. It's like, if you were being a jerk, or if your integrity wasn't matching, it's like there's not a chance in hell your sisters would want to work with you. You know what I mean?
Gone.
So speak about that dynamic. Like, what is it like to be probably the same girls that you were picking fights with when you guys were in high school, and now it's like you're probably still picking fights while you're working together. What is that dynamic like?
They probably struggle with it more because I think, they probably struggle with it a little bit more, trying to have to take orders from me or listen to me, but they've come to understand. So it's awesome. It's such a huge gift to be able to work with a family. It comes with both, like especially my younger sister Maria, who's now our director of finance. Like, in the beginning when she was hired, she had a hard time separating like employer and brother, and in some regards you kind of have to. And so we would fight a lot. I mean, a lot. My parents were on the receiving end of many phone calls from the both of us, like either in tears or screaming about the other person. But we powered through that. Like, we communicated throughout like any other relationship. And now on this other side of it, and now really with both my sisters, like, it's such a beautiful thing to be able to like see them, every day, to share space with them, to talk about goals and dreams, to know that they have my back and I have theirs. Like, it's such a huge gift, and but it comes with its set of challenges.
Of course,
but it's all beautiful stuff. So
yeah, it's awesome, man.
Yep.
One of the things that you've done, and certainly they're a part of your family, but I think one of the things that a lot of businesses say, it almost feels way too cheesy. It's, working here, it's like we're one big happy family, right?
Yeah.
It's like everybody says that.
Yep.
One of the things I freaking love about the way that you run your business is, I want to say it was like 2 years ago or something, and you probably did it last year too. There's like this big conference at like the Mohegan Sun or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys, you basically shut down your business.
Yep.
And you go like, I'm taking the whole team to this conference. Yeah. Now, just to say, like, that costs more than just the hotel rooms.
Much.
Yeah. So like, I get that as a business guy to a degree.
Yeah.
But there's a real decision that you've put into building your business in a way that really does feel like everyone has a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Like, I don't just care about what you do for me. I care about you as the individual growing, learning, developing, all those kind of things.
Yep.
Talk about those kind of decisions as you've been able to build your business.
Yeah. Yeah, so last year, we've done like Vegas, Mohegan Sun, Orlando was last year, and that was brought the entire company to this conference in Orlando. And of course, there's like a training side to it also. There's a benefit there, but that's really not important to me at all. In fact, we blew off one of the days of the conference completely, and I brought everyone to Universal Studios. So, and that just goes back to like, when you're a small business, right, and I'm comparing ourselves to like Amazon and the power company.
Sure.
And, just these huge, multi-million, billion-dollar businesses. So, I always felt like you have to do something to separate yourself, because I can't compare to like what RG&E can pay certain people like for certain things. Like I can't offer all that same stuff. But what I feel like I do have is this opportunity to be unique and provide such an experience for an employee that it makes a memorable moment in that person's life, where they feel like they had this place that they worked, that they were invested in, treated different. Like, as a small business owner, you have like this really cool opportunity to create a unique working space. Do I deliver on that all the time? Absolutely not. Like, I fall short, of course, and sometimes it just feels like a normal business to me too. But I try to always recognize the opportunities that I could stand out amongst other people. And I looked at it like Universal Studio or the Orlando trip. That was about $90,000 in actual cost to bring people out there. Plus, you take into account lost revenue for that week, and you're well over $250,000. And but I look at the other side, like I look at the retention side too. Like, if I can provide an opportunity where an employee stays with me another year or two longer, like the cost to hire a new employee. I kind of figured at like 60 days, with everything that I would invest in a new employee, if they were to leave me, I'd be losing about $40,000 to $50,000. Would be waste right out the window, because an employee came, didn't like it there, and left.
Yep.
So I just felt like if I could focus on retention, and I get to like see joy in people's face doing it, like it's just you get to kill two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I feel like anyone that's had a leadership position at a business, it's like, the leaders get to go to those things.
Yeah.
Like the people, like the decision makers. Like they're the ones that get invited, and it just again, you're inviting them to a seat at the table. Like it speaks to their level of, they get to tell their wife or their family, hey, I got to go on a business trip.
Yeah.
And that's meaningful, especially for a blue collar guy. That's
100%.
Their job is not this traditional cubicle. They're not sitting on Zoom calls, right?
Yep.
They're up in lifts and freaking, slinging concrete and all that stuff. So, talk about the emergence for you as like a true masonry, like a true Mason and then building a business.
Yeah.
Because when you started out, it's very different than what it looks like today. It's probably easy for someone to look at all the success of Four Winds, the billboards, the commercials, the whatever. Oh, it must be nice moving into a new location, spending 90 grand at Universal. Like, this guy's got it, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of rewind the story. Like, when you were just a guy with a truck.
Yeah.
Like, at what point did you feel like, I might have something here? Maybe it's time to scale this. Just talk about that process.
Yeah, I mean, that was 7 years ago, so it's not that long at all. And so 7 years ago is when I started. It was February 14th, 2018. So 7-ish years ago. And yeah, it was just me. I had one helper at the time, and we were working out of the garage at my house. And I kind of did that for the first 7 months, and then I finally moved into just pretty much like a storage unit, just off-site was the biggest thing. And it was like a 1.5 car garage. And I knew in the beginning I wanted to do something bigger, and I knew it wasn't going to be just me. Like, I knew I wanted to build something bigger, and I was fortunate where I had, like, of course I had some people that believed in me, but I had more people that didn't believe in me in that happening, which ended up being a huge gift to me, because I work really well in those conditions when I kind of have something to prove. And but that's been constantly changing. So, like, years 1 and 2, I started to hire people. I start taking on like what the company could look like. It's always been kind of changing. Like, I would have never thought I had the company I do today back then. And kind of every step along the way is like becomes this new time where I have like a new vision of what it could look like, where it kind of builds upon what I have. And but very early on, like, once people started like staying and believing in me, and like really, like, I could see it in the proof with the work that they were doing. Like, they would do stuff on their own time. Like, they were just taking all these extra steps to back the dream that I was talking about. Once I saw that happening, I felt the obligation to like keep this train going. So until what it is today.
And I feel like and I'm not just saying this because I run a marketing agency. It's not a cheap plug. It's going to sound like one. But one of the things that you have done since very early on in the business is you have not been scared to reinvest money back into the business. And I think when a lot of people start their businesses, it's, oh, cool, I can pocket this extra money, and now I'm doing good. And but I mean, when we first met, it would have been probably 3 years ago, let's say 2-3 years ago. Like, you had already been investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in TV commercials and billboards and like all these other things. What kind of made you so comfortable in the early stages to go, hey, we need to spend money in marketing? You got to spend money to make money. Like, that's a hard conversation to have with people, especially as they're just getting set up.
It is.
How did you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I just always knew in my head that, like, I by myself could provide enough income to support my family. Like, that I was willing to take this risk. I also have not had and have enough confidence in myself that I could adapt quickly if something's not working out. But yeah, definitely years 1 through 3 and 4. I mean, those were those were like the grind years. And so I was dumping everything back in. And the same time, like, it's kind of like when COVID hit, and my wife, who was an RN, doesn't work anymore, decided to stay at home and raise our kids. So now there's one less income coming in, and so those early years, were a grind. I mean, they were 6-7 days a week, 14, 16-hour days, a couple ulcers in the mix too from stress, and
sure,
but I just always I knew what I could provide by myself to make keep everything going. And marketing was just as we grew, as I added people, now I'm responsible to keep the leads coming in. And I looked at steps like Isaac Heating and Air, I mean, Triple O, of course, also one, but any big name, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, I look at the steps that they take with marketing. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't it work for me? Like, it's all about psychology, right? Why wouldn't it work for me? And so I just copied their moves, and the biggest mistake I think I see people make when they invest in marketing is they look for this immediate return on investment. And I've seen it over and over again where, they try it for 2 months and they're just not seeing it, and now they back out. And just like fatal move, and such a waste of money in that 2 months. And I just knew that, like, if these systems work, if TV, billboards, radio, social media, content work for these companies, that they're gonna work for me. Like, but I have to stay consistent and diligent with it.
Yeah.
So
and you spent money on it,
Huge,
and I think that's the part that I think about any business that wants to grow, it's like, if you want people to pay full price for you, then you need to pay full price for these other things, right?
100%.
And you didn't have to be convinced of that. It was like you understood the investment, you understood the time, the money, the whatever, and you're able to dive into that. I think, again, from my seat, I found early on in my career that if I have to convince someone that I am the best fit for them, or that I'm going to help save the day, that's the wrong client. And that's okay, right? It's like, when I was younger, I maybe took it as like a personal, like, oh man, I really hope they like me. And like you kind of wear it. But as I've gotten older, it's like, hey, that's okay. They don't need what we're providing, but there's someone that does. And we're going to move to that next person. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to development, certainly the amount of trainings, the conferences, the events, the things that you're invited to, that you go to, how pivotal is it for someone that's running a business to reinvest in their own leadership as well, whether it's the books, or the podcasts, or the things that they consume? Talk a little bit about how you've been able to kind of stay sharp within your business. Yeah,
it's a huge part of it. So, along with like growing the business, right? Like professionally as the leader, like you also just have to grow personally too. And I just looked at it like each year that I'm in business, I'm operating at like a size that I've never operated before. Like I don't know what it's like to run, up until this year, a $10+ million business. And so each year as we've grown, like it's this new position that I'm in. But fortunately, there's plenty of people out there that have. And so, like, really what I get from going to the conferences, early on it was like learning about like the latest and the greatest. The tactics for marketing or the tactics for operation, all super important stuff. And if you could pick up, whenever I would go to a conference, I would try to find 1 to 3 things. I wasn't going back with like notebook full of things, like 1 to 3 things. The other most important step is to implement. It's another thing I see people fall short with, is the implementation. I try to find 1 to 3 things that could change my business, 5 to 25%, because 5 to 25% initially compounded over time is a lot of money, and just has a big effect. And then it's the conversations you get to have with people and the relationships that you get to make. I mean, I've gotten much more from the conversations I've had at these events versus sitting in like the actual classroom side of it. And it's kind of like that saying, like your net worth is your network, and so it's who you surround yourself with. And and I want to surround myself with people that are driven, humble, courageous leaders, and they become like my board of directors that I could rely on, any day, any time of the year. So one of the things I always say is the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is you don't have a boss. So you are the one that has to look in the mirror and go, is this a good decision today? Like, is this the best way for me to spend my time today? Like, you've got to make that decision. But if you have a network, if you have mentors, if you have people that are maybe a little bit ahead of where you are, that matters a whole lot. Because then you can really, learn from their mistakes. And, also, of course, we make our own, but you get to bounce ideas off of different people and have that kind of directors or board of directors type of thing. We do this thing in this podcast called the fails of the week. It's one of my favorite parts, where I think with social media, everything else, it's like, oh, of course, it's Four Winds. They're beautiful. They got a great company, whatever. But it's really fun to share the stories. It doesn't have to be just from this week. But do you have any stories over the few years of building Four Winds that there's maybe this like one fail story that you just feel like would be worthy of sharing today? I'm sure you got a bunch, but there's definitely a big bag I could pull from. So. Yeah, and that's one of those things. Like, also, it's especially when you're in the position, right, and you're a leader, or business owner, anything. Yeah, I guess it doesn't even matter. Like, fails in the comical sense is very fun, but it's hard to like look back at anything that happened like that and regret it. Like, I wish it didn't happen, because really, like, anything so when people ask me, like, what are some of the things you failed at with a business? Like, it's very hard to come up with an answer sometimes. I mean, I have one for you, like, hard to come up with an answer because so many of those things have been the reason why we operate the way we do now. I'd say the one big thing is I tried to like do too many things. So when I started, I used to be Four Winds Masonry and Chimney, and we would focus on and we did that for a while, and focused on general masonry, so like concrete and steps and any kind of like flat work, And then I realized that that I could focus on one thing, that I could become really good at this one area, chimney and fireplace. So everything chimney and fireplace related, if I focus on that, I could be the best at that. And so that's probably it. Probably trying to do too much. I mean, people ask a lot too, is like, what's next, or what service are you going to add on? And it's common in my industry where people add on HVAC, or they add on roofing, and I have just found that like I'm going to stay right in my lane.
Good for you,
you know what I mean?
man.
Like I'm going to focus on this and become known as the one that does this, and it's worked out well for us. So,
and what's been really unique about staying in your lane is now other markets are opening. Talk a little bit about kind of the expansion stuff with Four Winds, because again, when you become a specialist in this one thing, now it's like, well, hey, this region doesn't have this. This region doesn't have this. So what has that expansion been like? Where are you guys headed? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, so, the one thing, like, in Rochester, we were just, like, one of the first, I won't even say we were the first chimney company to market and advertise the way that we do and to scale up. It just wasn't a thing here.
Yeah.
And so it helped us stand out early on of, like, who are these people? And we naturally just got a lot of attention. I mean, you could look at, like, just think in your day-to-day life, like, other than Four Winds, in your day-to-day life, like, you don't see multiple chimney companies on a billboard or on TV or the social media presence like we do. You could see it in HVAC, though, and you could see it in roofing and exteriors, and you see those billboards all the time, but chimney just wasn't a thing. And so it really helped us grow a lot because we were putting so much money back into that. It really helped magnify the growth. So then, once we now that we're pretty set in Rochester, we started to look outside. And so I looked at markets that were similar, and Syracuse was one that, a little bit smaller of a population, same average income, about five or six chimney companies out there, all smaller operations, nobody marketing like the way we did here in Rochester. So it became easy math for me of like, let's just copy and paste what we did in Rochester and Syracuse and, deliver, of course, do marketing the same, but then, deliver on the customer experience. And that's what has worked really well for us. And Syracuse has now taken off. We started Buffalo recently as well. And that's been this year, Buffalo has, and that had immediate results to it. Syracuse was a little slow. Now it's full steam. Buffalo has been like an immediate light switch for us.
Let's just sit in, and then we're almost done here, but let's just sit into the Syracuse one starting off slow, because one of the things that I think is a very natural human experience that can happen is you have this kind of big dream.
Yep.
We're going to go to Syracuse. Here we go. And then you get hit with opposition.
Yeah.
Now, as a business owner, like that's the story of entrepreneurship in a nutshell. But how do you keep the pedal on the metal, and like how do you go, nope, this is expected. Like we're good. Keep moving forward. This is where we're supposed to be.
Yep.
How do you get through those many speed bumps in this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah.
Like what's kind of some advice you might have?
Yeah, good question. I mean, and this goes back to like your network. Like, fortunately, I didn't have to be the first one to figure that out. So, Because we did. I mean, we were dumping, thousands of dollars in marketing into Syracuse before we even stepped foot there. I mean, 2 months ahead of time. Then once we did step foot there, same thing, just dumping money in. And, and so it starts off slow, and I had those moments of like, man, is this going to work here? Like maybe 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2.
Yeah.
But then I relied heavily on my network, man. Like I've traveled around enough, met a lot of people locally, Ray Isaac from Isaac Heating and Air, huge mentor of mine, like people that work for him, and of course I have other friends here locally too, but that are huge in my life. But when it comes to having multi different service areas, only a handful, and every single one of them just backed up the experience that I was having. That's the same thing that happened to us there. This is what you're going to want to focus on.
Awesome.
And this is what you'll see in year 2, year 3. It's not black and white, but they were oddly accurate.
Pretty dead on. You're like, how did you guys know this?
Yeah. So it's just slow and steady, and have faith in them. And again, like, don't need to reinvent the wheel. And, so it's worked out.
I think even of biblical proportions, man, it's like let your yes be yes.
Yeah.
Let your no be no.
Yep.
It's like we committed to this.
Yep.
Doesn't mean get lost, Sometimes you got to take the dog behind and shoot, move on to the next thing. But it's like, this is our decision. Like we're heading into Syracuse. We're going to do this thing.
Yep.
I think that's special. So talk about 10 years from today, like Four Winds Chimney. What Anthony Valerio, whether it's podcasting, speaking, writing a book, it's 10 years. Like what do we got, man? What's 10 years from now? What's ahead?
A bunch of people have said the book thing, and that's one of those things. I also said I would never be the guy that goes to all these places to speak, and so here I am.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. The book, I'm going to say that now. I'll never be the guy that writes a book, but I know that time can change a lot. So what I'd like to see with the business is us spread across the Northeast. That's what we have laid out. I mean, we definitely have some tactics. We have those goals set already. And some tactics behind it. So, of course, that's where I picture us in 10 years. I would like to keep going, being able to attend, learn, and, of course, speak at different conferences. I really enjoy that. I've thought about the consulting side, about going to other businesses as well, and just because I really enjoy that. We have about, anywhere from 6 to 10 companies that visit us every year. And they'll spend 2-3 days with us, and we just open up our books. Like, they can see our tactics, our budget, everything. We'll sit with them, go over their books a little bit, their marketing plan, their operation. It's been really helpful, and I love that. I mean, you could help change the course of people's lives. And I've learned that's what I really enjoy doing. And so if I could do that, and I would stick within my industry. If I could do that for other companies down the line, I think I would find a lot of joy in that.
I got to imagine your team feels pretty, proud.
Yeah.
When those moments happen, right? It's like, it kind of breaks up the monotony, like the weeks to week to day to day, where it's like, oh, like someone else cares about the work that I'm doing. Let me show them how I do it. You know?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's the one big thing I've tried to follow is make yourself the least important person in the room. And, and on the business side, that's really like the team that you build. And it's really like I've learned that you want to not just delegate tasks. Anybody can delegate a task, but delegate authority. That's where you really see people thrive. And being able to provide that, so now to be able to see my managers or lead technicians take on this new responsibility, new authority, and then teach that to someone like an outsider that comes in, it just fills people up. It helps you feel more confident, makes you feel like you're giving back to people. It reaffirms the steps that you're taking. So it's easy to doubt yourself. It's easy to be to always find the fault in the things that you're doing wrong. But then you have somebody come in from the outside and looks at you like, man, you do everything right. And there's a happy line, there's a meaning to that, but it helps reaffirm steps that you take. A lot of the conferences I go to now really do that for me. They reaffirm the steps that I'm taking. Same thing. So being able to provide that for managers where they could teach that to people, just helps reaffirm them and like, man, I am building something meaningful here. And but delegate authority, not just a task. That's a big one.
That's the mic drop right there, bro.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my Instagram reel from this.
Nice.
Right there. You're an impressive dude, man. I've always just really, like I said at the beginning, I mean, I think the way that you lead your business, your family, I think the way that you honor those that have come before you, like Uncle Mike, and just I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Like
Thanks, Mike.
I think you're a really stand-up dude, and I think we live in a time right now where there's just a lot of loud personalities. There's a lot of people that are competing to be the loudest person in the room.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see how success continues to find you.
Thanks, Mike.
And again, don't forget about this little table here in Rochester, New
That's
York.
right.
That we this podcast will be on YouTube. So when he's a famous speaker that's charging 30, 40K a clip.
Oh shit.
I'm just saying we got him for free today. So,
that's right.
But listen, the final part of this, rapid fire hot seat questions. My absolute favorite part of this, right?
Yep.
1 to 2 word responses. Want to get you sweating. We want to hit you with some of these questions, and then we'll get you out of here. So here we go. What's the wildest thing that you ever found in a chimney?
Smith & Wesson revolver.
Wow. I could not have guessed that one.
Yep.
Great. I thought it was going to be a bird or something.
Plenty of those.
Would you rather build the perfect chimney or give the perfect speech?
Perfect speech.
Excellent. What's the best city that you've ever visited for a conference?
I love Orlando because of the cigar bars there. That's why I like it a lot.
Orlando's dope.
Yeah, it is.
I went to
there's a lot to it.
I went to the AHR one at the Orange County Convention Center, I think it was.
Yep.
Massive.
Yep.
I mean, just massive and pretty cool. Pretty cool vibes. If you could give a TED Talk on anything other than business, what would it be?
Anything other than business, it would be... maybe how to raise 2 crazy and wildly beautiful kids.
I love
something
that,
like
bro.
that. Parenting with that.
That's it. I love it. What's your go-to way to unwind after a long day at work?
It's both. Definitely gym cold plunge is a big one.
Nice.
But I usually do that during the day. My family, the smiles on my kids' faces, it does it. So
just totally unplug.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Do you do the cold plunge in the morning? Is that like wakes you up?
So like 9, not first thing. I used to anywhere from like 5, 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning. It just depends on how the day goes.
Got it.
So
every day.
Depends on how good I'm doing, but like I'd say consistently 3 to 4 times a week.
That's insane, bro.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Last question: if Four Winds Chimney had a mascot, what would it be?
Well, I always thought it would be like this funny kind of chimney figurine, brick chimney figurine, and then every time I got pissed off, smoke would shoot out of it. Something like that.
I love it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably
that
it,
works.
So. Yeah,
that works. I can see that.
It could go. It could work.
It could go.
Yeah.
That's great. I can't wait for one of your team members to show up at the next Orlando conference as the mascot.
That's right.
Hey, bro, I'll pay for your hotel room. You just got to be this mascot.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the In Good Company podcast, where we believe that the best parts in business happen in good company. And Anthony, thank you for taking the time and setting it aside. And we appreciate you guys swinging by. We'll see you next time.